All right. Let me just start with invoking Mohanji, my guru. Om. Om. ॐ परब्रह्मणे विद्महे शिवतत्त्वाय धीमहि तन्नो मोहन प्रचोदयात् ॐ परब्रह्मणे विद्महे शिवतत्त्वाय धीमहि तन्नो मोहन प्रचोदयात् ॐ परब्रह्मणे विद्महे शिवतत्त्वाय धीमहि तन्नो मोहन प्रचोदयात्. All right, welcome guys, everybody. Welcome, Jai Mohanji. I'm Runa, and I'm here today at the Mohanji Center of Benevolence in Virginia, hosting our third episode in the experience sharing series. This is always a mouthful. So, and today we have a very special Mohanji family member joining us, George Obeng-Duro. Welcome, George. I'm so happy you're here.
Hi, Runa. I'm happy to be here.
Okay, so actually, before we get started, I would like to just share a few words about George. And this is not to make you feel embarrassed, George, but I think it's necessary. I know most people here may already know of him, but I would still like to say a few words. George is a man of many hats, and you're going to find out why. So, George has had actually the privilege of serving Mohanji as his personal assistant for almost 3 years. And in this time, he's had the opportunity to, travel with Mohanji, be in close proximity, and live with him. And I'm sure today we will get to hear some of these insights from him. George has also actually served as a priest in the Datta Tapovan ashram in Canada in their early days. And the list doesn't stop there. He's also a practitioner of Kalari Payattu, which is an ancient martial arts form. And this was actually given to the world. It is believed to be given to the world by sage Agastya himself. So George has lived in India for several months and trained under actually a guru in this art form. The other thing I think, which many of you might already be familiar or know George for, is he's the man behind the camera at events that we have, whether it's the Mohanji retreats or events, and he's the one recording many of these beautiful moments that we get to enjoy later. In fact, currently George is living in Los Angeles, and he is studying at the Los Angeles Film School to hone his directorial and artistic skills. So looking forward to the other end of the school and seeing what George has to offer to the world. I think what many people may or may not know is that George, before meeting Mohanji, served in the Navy, in the US Navy, for almost 12 to 13 years. So there you go. I mean, here is a man who has so many incredible achievements, but here he sits very humbly smiling. But actually, what stands out to me and what I actually know George for is he's just a being full of love. In fact, when I had gone to see Mohanji for the first time, he embraced us with so much love, and that relationship hasn't changed. So I'm really grateful that you're here today, George, and here to share with us your journey. So welcome again.
Wow. Wow. I want to meet this George. He sounds so interesting.
Yes, so that's what we're going to do today.
Oh,
um,
thank you. I'm happy to be here, Runa.
yes. And I think what we'll do is today we'll keep it more conversational, keep it just, chatting between us. And of course, if anybody here also has questions for George, you're welcome to ask. Maybe I'll start off with a few questions and we'll see how it goes. Maybe let's just start by asking you, George, how long have you known Mohanji for?
I met Mohanji for the first time in March 2017. So I'm very bad with math. So whoever can do the math. So yeah, at that time I was still serving in the US Navy, and it was a period of my life where I had started to explore more of spirituality. I was reading a lot of books, and I was doing meditation on my own, like intuitively. I didn't know anything about it. I just happened to start doing it, and I was getting all these experiences, and I wanted to learn more about what was happening to me. So one day I happened to read a book by Guruji Avadota Nadanandaji, autobiography of an Avadota, and I wanted to find out more about him. But every time I would type in his name, like Mohanji's name will keep showing up, and I wasn't searching for Mohanji. I didn't even know who Mohanji was, so I put it aside, and finally I gave into it. I was like, oh, let's see who this Mohanji is, and the first thing that came up was a retreat that was happening in Sedona. I didn't know what a retreat was, but I had no plan on attending a retreat. But I don't know, for some reason, when I typed his name, a retreat came up, and I just signed up on the spot. So yeah, and I drove from California to Sedona, and I met Mohanji for the first time in March 2017.
Wow, so that's almost over 6 years. Actually, it's almost 7 years you've known
Right.
him. Wow, okay. And so is there a first place that comes to your mind, like a favorite place you've traveled with him?
Favorite place that I've traveled with him. It's a lot of places. But I like Ganeshpuri. For some reason, I always feel like I don't know, I will want to go to Ganeshpuri. Even now, it's like I always think about going to Ganeshpuri. So I think Ganeshpuri is my favorite place right now that I've been
With
with my.
him?
Also, that is where my journey in India started there, because the first time I went to India, Mohanji had asked me to attend a yoga program, but the Himalayan school, they were having
Yeah.
a yoga workshop. So like in Ganeshpuri. So I stayed there for about two to 3 weeks for the workshop. So I guess I have some sort of love relationship with Ganeshpuri.
Interesting. And uh, so you said you first went to India to Ganesh Puri, and do you know that now they've just sort of finalized getting an more land for building an ashram, I believe.
Yeah, I'm aware that we have acquired land over there. In fact, a couple of years ago, I was supposed to go and see that land, but something happened. I was climbing the mountain, I couldn't go, so like I have to go back there. Maybe that's why Ganesh Puri is calling me again, so I have to go back and actually look at the land that the foundation got.
Okay. Do you know, I believe they're going to celebrate Mohanji's birthday this year there. So do you think you may have plans to be there?
I would love to, but my
So.
school schedule is very tight, so we will see. I'll keep it open. I never know these things, so yeah.
Okay. I'm pretty sure everyone here, of course, including myself, wants to know more about your time as a PA with the Mohanji, So, um, is there one memorable experience? If there's more, we'd love to know, but even like one that you recall that you can share at this moment.
Uh, with what, serving as a PA?
Yeah, during your time with him as a PA.
I guess there's a lot. There's a lot of moments, periods, but what always amazed me, like serving Mohanji and like his interaction with people, like the large number of people that were coming to him is if like for me after a while like the questions that people were asking him like it would be like the same people asking the same question over and over again like year after year after year over and over again and I would get frustrated but he never did he never got frustrated and I always wonder like how is he able to do that and like don't you get tired of the same questions like don't you get tired of seeing the same people but I don't know the answer that came to me later on it was that I feel like every time he meets somebody, he's not meeting the same person. For me, I might be looking at the same person, but that person might have changed. Like the place that the question is also coming from might have changed. So because we're all evolving all the time. So he's meeting people like new every single time. So for him, it's always fresh. It's always exciting. But for me, my lame eyes, it's like, oh, it's the same person asking the same question.
Mm.
So, but yeah, I always find it fascinating. Even now, it's like every time, like, man, how does he do it? 'Cause it's not like he's doing it. He's just seeing the person that is in front of him as now, and I get to see him. I get to see that person like as the same person. So
Yeah.
that is
Actually,
what.
that's a really powerful observation you've had. That makes a lot of sense, because I've had this thought too, masters and a guru really, I mean, you can tell from their equilibrium when people ask them all kinds of questions and maybe repetitive questions. They're never perturbed, and so that perspective that you just shared is actually really powerful.
Yeah, and also it's not just the way he also answers it differently every time that question is asked. It might be the same question, but the answer comes in a different way because maybe now the person might have he has to speak to the person in a different way because they're also different. So the answer also changes, It's like, oh, but yeah, I always find it very fascinating.
Okay, and okay, so this series is called the Transformation Series, right? So I would love to hear from you. What does the word transformation mean to you?
What does the word transformation mean to me? Hmm. Personally, it means for me, it means I don't know. I am here now, you know, in a way. I don't know. That's what came to me. So that's because I'm thinking about my own transformations. Like
Hmm.
the person that went to meet Mohanji for the first time in 2017 is like I look here and I don't find that person anymore. So I feel like yeah, there's more of me here now. Like I am here now. So
Wow,
that's
that's beautiful.
yeah.
I never looked at it that way. That's very interesting.
Yeah.
Who you are right now. That's really interesting.
Yeah, who I am right now. It's like who I was then. It's like it feels so distant. It's like I can't even recall like who I was then. I just know that I'm not that person anymore.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So you've been with Mohanji in close proximity, over this period of time. Um, have you observed any one thing in him that you have taken back and applied in your life?
Hmm. Um, I will say the one thing that I've taken back that I try to apply, that's try, it's like, 'cause, it's not very constant and I always feel at it is it's always be available. He's always available, to people, all people that come to him. It doesn't matter what you know, hour or day it is. It doesn't matter what his schedule is. If somebody comes, he makes it a point to be available to them, because I don't know. So I try to do that. And being available doesn't mean that, oh, just I'm opening up my schedule to you. To me,
Mm.
he's like his presence, you like when he's interacting with people, he's available. He's very present in that moment. And I try to do that now. It's like I try to be very, very present when I'm interacting with people. It's like I think it's a very powerful practice, and I feel like it has really changed, how I interact with people.
Wow. Yeah, because I've thought about this because I've heard Mohanji say in the path of Datta, in our path, be available. Really, that's what you need to do. You don't have to worry and think I have to do this or that. Just be available. So I've tried to wonder what that really meant. And actually, this is really nice for me to hear from you. Actually, it's your presence when you're there. Uh, because that's definitely something I've seen in him. When you're with him, you are like he is 100% there with you, you know,
Yeah,
and uh, and no matter who you are at that moment, you feel like his world is you, and that's
yeah,
that's actually very healing because a lot of times when we're with people, they're not necessarily there,
hmm,
and sometimes just we need just somebody being present and acknowledging our presence, right? So that's
yeah,
actually quite powerful.
yeah. It is. It sounds very simple, but it is very powerful. And like, if you like, I don't like with me, it's like this. So the apartment that I'm in right now, there's this apartment manager. Her name is Ashley.
Mhm.
For some reason, she loved being around me. And for one day, she called me into her office and she sat me down and she started telling me all these things. She said that whenever she's around me, she feels very calm, and
Yeah.
she feels like she has to be on her best behavior, and she feel like I don't know, she enjoyed being around my presence. And it's not, I don't think that it is me that she's sensing. It just think once you are available, then other masters can also like work through you. And it's not like I even tell her anything special. I just listen. Like you said, some people just need to want to feel like they're being heard. So I just make myself available by just sitting with her and just listening. And she finds value in that. So yeah.
Yeah. Wow, that's beautiful. I was just thinking as you were saying that I know I felt that with you too, that you're just there, you're very present, and that's where I also connect with you. And there's a very calming feeling just being with you. You don't have to say much, it's just nice to hang out. And so
Yeah.
I can relate to that.
And
Um,
it's not me. I'm not taking credit for that. It's definitely Mohanji, because I feel like that's also like one of the many benefits of like being in the presence of somebody master like him. It's like they can't help themselves but to imprint your qualities,
mm,
onto like whoever is around. So if you are available, then they're, even if you're not available, they're still imprinting their qualities, onto you. So, and what I mean by qualities is like, yeah, like with him is, selflessness, compassion, love. It's like that's what they express into the world all the time. So it's almost like you go into a room filled with perfume,
mm,
you can't help but come out smelling like that.
mm,
So yeah. So it's not me. I don't take credit for that. It's like whatever he has imprint, like my time with him, whatever he has imprinted onto me, that is what other people are also sensing.
mm. This is a very interesting point because everything you shared so far kind of reminds me, when I was sort of prepping generally for this whole series about transformation, I was wondering what does really transformation mean? And I looked up to see what had Mohanji said, what transformation, because I was like, yeah, it's a change. But then I thought, okay, there's got to be something more to it. And I found that Mohanji had said, transformation is reaching a state of no thought. a state of zero thoughts where there's no rush of thoughts. It's basically a no mind state, reaching a state of no mind. Um, and that happens through deep connection with the master, with the guru, because the guru is a physical representation of somebody who's established in a no mind state. So as you connected with him in whatever way, you start, like you were saying, that's why I remembered this, that quality of that guru, whatever you're connecting to starts imprinting on you. And that's the state of no mind. So basically, transformation eventually, our little changes of whatever we're going through eventually is all taking us to that state of no mind. And I find it very powerful because I never understood the full depth of what really Mohanji kept, because he plays a lot of emphasis on transformation. And so it was very beautiful to understand really what transformation meant. And that's like a final goal, to get to that state of complete emptiness where he can just imprint himself, which is also basically nothing. There's this emptiness and just mirroring
Yeah.
whatever is there.
Yeah, it's also, you can also see it as like, it's like they're holding like our true self. It's like they're holding that for us till we're ready, and whenever we're ready, they just transfer that into us again. So it's like maybe us, like me in my limited, awareness, like I cannot hold like my true self, because like that is all we're all trying to get to. Because
Mm.
before, I felt like I was so detached from myself, like I didn't know what being me even meant, so, but if I feel like he was holding that, it's like, because I don't have the capacity to hold that because he's already established in that. So it's like now that I'm maybe opening up to it, then that qualities are able to like be transformed into me. Yeah. Yeah.
We've heard this many times, and I'm sure you've heard this too, that they say, or not they say, we've heard Mohanji say, there's a massive difference between having a living master, like a living guru, versus having like a picture on the wall, maybe of a god or even a guru who you may have not met, who's not in the body maybe anymore. Have you seen through your like time with Mohanji, physically being close to him, um, this difference either for yourself or like for other people or through others?
Yeah, there's definitely a difference. I think Mohanji himself also said it. It's like when we have a picture or of a master, versus a physical guru, it's like the picture, a lot of the times we force our own ideas, our own inclinations, onto that picture, whatever ideas we have of, spiritual life, we kind of like we force that onto the picture. But with a living master, like he's living that truth, he's established in that. You cannot force your own ideas onto him. So it's very, very difficult. It's hard because he's here to like, break your egos and like actually give you the things that you want, you need, versus a picture. It's like we're asking for the things that we think we need, but we don't really know what we think we need. So, but yeah, like, so the main difference I see is that, it's like we cannot force our ideals and our ideas onto a living master. But, with a picture, sometimes the picture will not talk back at you. Most of the times it won't, but, we can, it can be like a rabbit hole where, whatever you can impart that onto the picture, that image. So yeah.
Okay. Um, Maybe I will just open it up for a few minutes because I didn't want to be the only person talking. Does anybody at this point want to ask George anything? You can unmute yourselves, and if anybody has a question, or George and I will continue chatting.
Andra wants to grill me. Oh my gosh. It's time for me to run.
George, I'm not going to do that to you, but you were with Mohanji and very close to him for a few years. What do you miss most now from being with Mohanji?
What do I miss most now?
Yeah.
I think I miss the people. The people like I miss that interaction. I miss a lot of the times like we get to see like when we're setting up programs, and stuff like that, we get to see like the finished product. We don't see like the work that goes into like getting those, environment created. It's like, but the work, like the people behind the scenes creating those things, like I miss those people. It's like, we have the best time. It's like you really grow together, you become a family, and I miss that interaction.
Mm. Yeah. Okay.
With the Preeti, the Preeti Didi, both Preeti, Madhu's Preeti, and God Preeti, and and all the other people behind the scene, Rajesh, all these people. Like I miss those interactions. I wish like when we're creating videos, I wish that those are the videos that I feel like people should see, because that I feel like these are the people that are living like Mohanji's message, like they is imbibed in them, It's like I feel like people miss out on that because we don't show that side, you know.
Yeah.
That's that type of
Mm.
interaction, but it's a very beautiful interaction, like the hard work. And even though we're all working hard, there's still a lot of time to laugh and play, So there's a lot of play.
Speaking about that, my next question, and it's beautiful. You must be really intuitive. I was going to say, do you have anything that you remember that's maybe one of the funniest things that you remember with laughing and playing and jokes and things that go on behind the scenes?
Um, I mean, that's a lot. There's a lot. I can't really think about something specific. But I guess one incident that comes to mind, I think I told Runa this a couple of months ago when we were together about Rajesh. Everybody knows that Rajesh is always being the one that is scolded. He's always getting like the harshest, from Mohanji. But I feel like their interaction is also actually very very interesting to observe. I think there's a lot of love between them. Like there was this one time that I had left something of Mohanji when I was his PA, and we had traveled to Palakkad, and I left a personal item of Mohanji in Palakkad, and Mohanji was asking for it, but I couldn't find it. And I was running around the house all over like a headless chicken, trying to find this thing. And I was trying to get Rajesh to help me, but he was just happy that this time around it's not him that is being scolded. So he's also running around with me, ha ha ha, ha just laughing at me. And I'm all being serious. This is like my first couple of months of actually being a PA. So it's like I've never experienced this side of Mohanji before, but Rajesh is all used to it, but he just so joyful that this time it's not him. So yeah.
Well, I think they say that when a master's hard on you, you should take it as a compliment.
Right. Well, I didn't know that at that time. I felt like my heart was gonna jump out of my body. Yeah. But yeah,
Thank you.
but it's a lot of love. It's a lot of love there. It's a lot of play there. But yeah.
Thank you, George.
Andra, thank you for those questions. I mean, we needed some good laugh here. Thank you. That's awesome. Yeah, Ashish.
Ashish, hello.
I I wanted to ask you, George, from your view of what you've observed from Monji, what do you think are the core of his teachings? Like what is Monji's teachings from what you've observed from day to day being interacting with him?
I mean, he says that all the time. He even wears a shirt that says, be you, be you, be you. I think that's the core of his teachings. Like I was saying earlier, I think whatever that he's doing, he's just trying to give ourselves back to us. It's like I feel like I get a sense that he feels like once we are establishing our own self, then our life can be better. It's like once you know the truth of your own being, it ripples out into whatever that you're doing in the world. So then your life is much more productive, you have clarity in your life, and I feel like you also be, you know, that permeates into the society that you're also in. You're just a better human being, you know, overall. So yeah, I think that's the core
Yeah.
of its teachings, to be you, you know, but
Mm.
it's hard to be you. You gotta try to figure it out what this you thing is.
That's what I wanted to ask you next. Like, how do you work on that, on being you, like figuring out who you are, what that means to you?
For me, I think it's just letting go of all the ideas, you know, or all the preconception that I have of myself. A lot of it comes from like societal influences. You know, like we learned that, you know, from society, like what we're told that we are, you know. But once you start to let go of those ideas, you know, like whatever that it remains, it's like whatever that is not staying is definitely not you, you know. So once you let go of that, whatever that is remaining, you know, that is you, you know. It's like you begin to get a sense of that, you know. It's like, oh, if I do this, no, it doesn't make me feel good about myself. It's like your spirit will start telling you. So it's like, okay, I don't want to do this anymore. Because every time you do it, it's almost like your spirit shrinks, you know. So that's not you. But whatever that you do, and there's a sense of spaciousness, and there's openness, and there's joy, and there's love. It's not like there's always joy, but there's, I don't know, there's this contentment inside of you all the time. That is you. And you begin to have awareness of that. So you want to grow that, you know. Yeah.
Oh, beautiful. Thank you.
You're muted, Runa.
Thank you. I had a follow-up question with what Ashish was asking, because you know, George, you live in LA and you're interacting with the entertainment industry, and that requires maybe, or maybe that because I've lived in LA myself, I understand it's people are struggling, you know, to be themselves because they have to fit into this world to survive. So, what is your experience being there? How do you manage to stay true to that, especially because in that environment in LA, I feel like maybe there's a bigger force or you know pressure to fit in. How do you manage that?
This Mohanji's teaching. Be you, be you, be you. I'll just, I'll just be. I feel like maybe a couple of years ago, I probably wouldn't have been able to. But I don't know. There's a growing sense of awareness of like, I don't know. There's just something inside of me that is always present. You know, well, and like when you begin to touch that, you know, whatever that's happening outside doesn't really matter. You know, it's like you can go out and do whatever, but it's almost like a beacon back home. You know, it's like, oh, this is still here. You know, I'm still here. You know, and that can never be diluted or affected in whatever way. So it doesn't matter what you're doing in the world. But as long as that you maintain that space inside of yourself, then you know you can always come back home.
Wow, I mean, George, looks like you've gotten it.
No, 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 no. I haven't gotten anything. Like, I have, no, I don't feel like I've reached anywhere. I don't know. There's just a lot more contentment here, and that's all.
You know, I feel like everybody in goes through this phase in their lives where your connection to your guru is tested, or you know, to God, or anything that you believe strongly in. Um, have you experienced that connection ever being tested?
Oh yeah, many times. I feel like anybody that would tell you that they've never been tested is probably lying because we all do. I mean, there've been periods where I wanted to like throw out all the pictures of Mohanji that I have on my altar. You know, I was so angry at him and I was so mad at him. It's like I couldn't even look at a picture. You know, there's been plenty of that. But I don't know, that comes from my own expectations and my own egos. Like it's like we get into this spiritual path having like a like this pre picture of what it should look like, of what our spiritual growth should look like. You know, it's like what we probably even have like checkpoints of like, trying to gauge our spiritual growth and all of that. We have all this thing at the back of our minds. And when you're not meeting that, then you start to blame the guru. It's like, oh, it's his fault. Like I'm following him and he's not doing anything. Because a lot of the time the changes that are happening inside of you, you're not aware. It's like you don't see it, it's like you only see the things that has left you, but you don't, it doesn't feel like you're growing in the sense of what we think growing should look like. So, but yeah, when so those times that I have been tested is out of my own ignorance of like wanting my spiritual growth to look a certain way. Like I read about having like the golden light coming to you. I was waiting for this golden light to descend from this heavens and come into me, and become a golden body and stuff like that. Or be able to sit down and meditate for hours and become a Buddha and all of that. That's what I felt like a spiritual growth should look like. But when I wasn't getting that, that you become frustrated, that you become frustrated in the environment that you're in, that you become frustrated with the teachers, that you become frustrated with the teacher. So but once you let go of your idea of what your growth should look like, then you begin to see your actual evolution and your transformation, but it never looked like what we think it should look like.
Thank you, George, for saying that and just like probably releasing it for all of us. Because it's right. I mean, we all might have our own set of expectations, and it's nice to hear from, okay, even George, feels that way, and it's quite normal, and it's really our own expectations that actually bring some of these feelings to
Right.
us. Wow, thank you. I almost felt a little emotional hearing that. So,
It's okay, man. Yeah, and those phases will come. It doesn't come in once, but sometimes it comes in avalanches. So those phases will come too. So it's
yeah.
okay. It's all part of it. I mean, even now, sometimes I feel that way. It's not as strong anymore, but it still comes. But now there's awareness that, oh, this guy is coming again. It's like, oh, we already been through it.
Yeah. Wow, that's so cool. That's so cool. That understanding has dawned.
Yeah.
Wow. Um, how do you connect with Mohanji now? Because likely my understanding is you may not see him as often as maybe you used to. So how do you connect to him now?
Just by remembering him, like throughout the day, it's like, oh, I'll have moments where like I'll remember like my time with him, or just remembering his name, or
Mm.
just his presence. Yeah.
Mm. It reminds me, one time Mohanji told us, he said, I've made myself so available that just remembering me is enough.
Mhm.
And I thought, wow, because sometimes you feel a God or Guru is so far out there. How do you even touch that? How do you touch that? How do you even build that connection? Do you need to like have raised your frequency or whatever, right? But he said, I've just made myself so available that all you need to do is even just remember me.
Yeah.
I found there is actually real power in that.
There is. I mean, before, a couple of years ago, when I used to have a lot of insecurity, like I'll feel insecure that I'm not, there that, or I should be there, in this present. But now that insecurity, by grace, is not there. So just remember him is like it's more than enough. I also always like light a lamp, on my altar every morning and evening. So that is also my way of connecting.
So when you're like taking these really cool directorial shots in school, you're like, Mohanji, is that what life looks like?
Sometimes it comes, remembering comes in that form, like, oh, I'm stuck on this. I was like, I need help, Mohanji, something like that. Yeah.
Nice. Um, and I guess maybe I wouldn't mind opening it back up in case somebody else has thought of some questions to ask George here. This is our time to find out the secrets with
Secrets.
Mochi.
Uh-oh, there's the lady in white again.
I didn't intimidate you that much. And my questions were pretty easy. I just wanted to share an observance that I think it's kind of interesting, George, because of what you shared. You know, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
I know you were looking to have a golden body and
Well,
have all
that's what I read in the books, right?
you know, and I know that that's something that you thought, oh, now I really have arrived. But when you have somebody that you don't know very well, like the person who is in the apartment, or the person who's the landlord, and says she doesn't know why she wants to be close to you, and she feels your calmness, and sometimes that can be a mirror for you with how much you've grown, because it's how you're affecting people now. And I think that's a very beautiful thing for you to see. So it's not how your body's being changed, or if you can even pay attention to your thoughts or anything having to do with you, but it's the effect you're now having on others that is huge. And it's making a huge difference, because you then become a change agent because of the goodness in your heart.
Hmm. That is true. Thank you. Thank you for saying that. That's not just to me. I mean, I think Andre's saying this to everybody here too. So
Yeah. So forget the golden body.
yeah. I forgot about that a long time ago.
Anybody else have any questions for George? While the others are thinking, what do you think? Can you remember one quote of Mohanji's that really has stuck with you, and you tend to, go back to, either, to help with your daily practice, or just something that has really stayed with you and helped you?
Not really a quote, but something that he told me. I think earlier on, like, where you know how a lot of people will come to Mohanji and ask for like special spiritual mantras, or like, or spiritual practices or whatever. But sometimes he doesn't do it. Sometimes he also give it to those people that ask for it. And I was feeling like, oh man, this guy's not giving me anything. He's not telling me what to do. He's not telling me to practice anything. So out of insecurity again, like I muster up the courage to go ask him, like, what should my spiritual practice be? And he looked at me very sternly, and he just said, practice awareness. Like at that time I had no idea what that is. Like you telling people to do this, this hundreds of chants and giving them this mantra. You just told me this thing. It's like, oh, it didn't make any sense to me. But later on, it became to make a lot more sense. It goes along the lines of what we were talking about earlier, of being present, making sure that whatever you're doing in your daily life, you're present, then, you're much more aware. And like in that way, it's like awareness comes, naturally, so that is something that he told me that has always stuck around. No, it didn't stick around in the beginning, but now it's like, oh, it's what I practice daily. Just being aware, being present.
It's interesting, actually, when we see other people and we feel like, yeah, why aren't we getting that told to us?
Yeah.
Like, I have this one experience, it's pretty silly, of how silly I was. Every time I would see Mohanji, and he would always be telling somebody around me, eat well, eat well. And I thought, why does he not tell me that? And it's so silly, because I don't know why I wanted him to say that to me. There was no
Right.
rhyme or reason. And I remember finally one day, in a satsang, he said sometimes he tells people to eat well because maybe that's the agenda that they've come in life for. Their focus is about eating. And I thought,
Mm.
yes, I'm so glad he didn't say that to me. So the ego kicks in now saying, oh, I'm so glad that he's not telling me that. And just the very next meal I was eating, he happened to pass by. So this is after I hear him in a satsang. That I just happened to be the next afternoon or something eating a meal at that satsang. And I'm by myself, and he walks right by me and he says, "Eat well." And I thought, okay, great. It's interesting. I observed in myself how, sometimes you just pick up little desires when you see other people. But really, he's already telling you or not telling you what you need. Um,
Right.
and that's kind of what I also heard from what you shared. Um,
Yeah.
I'm sure you must have so many fun experiences of just interactions of people who come and ask him things. I mean, that must have been quite quite an experience to get to do that.
Yeah, yeah, you get to meet a lot of, different people, it's interesting. It's always interesting the variety of people that comes. So yeah.
Yes, Andrew, please ask.
So, George, I have a question. Now, you're working with film,
Yes.
you're in California, and you're working with all different components of film. Do you feel that in some way, maybe Mohanji is communicating with you when you're devising films? And do you feel that kind of inspiration coming from him now, even though you're physically not with him?
Yeah, in some ways, I do think so. It's just his it's like his way of how he approach work is always is like what we said, like being present, being, make sure that whatever that you're doing, you do it well, so it's like that is how I approach it. I feel like whatever that I'm doing, like I want to give my best to it.
Mm.
It doesn't matter if I'm just being asked to run errands on a set. Like I just want to give my best to it to make sure like the production goes well, because you never know who is going to affect. So
Mm.
yeah, that's how I feel like he's influencing me.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, George.
Yeah.
Cool. I think unless anybody else has any questions for George, this is our time to extract all the secrets from George. um, um, yeah, well, if in case anybody has questions, but while you're thinking, George, any anything you would like to just share with us? Oh yeah,
Um,
okay. Sorry. Go ahead, please go ahead.
Somebody raise their hand.
Yeah, Sonal, I didn't want to interrupt you, but Sonal, did you have a question?
Hi, George. Uh,
Hello.
Hi. Actually, my husband wanted to ask you one question.
Okay.
He's here.
Hi, Mr. George. This is Mahesh here. How are
Hello.
you doing?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. How are
Good,
you?
good. I'm good. Thank you for asking. So, I mean, this might be a very a silly question, but you mentioned that, being around Mohanji, you get an opportunity to meet many different people. So,
Mhm.
uh, is there any, and again, by no means I'm trying to disrespect or say, but is there any way, like do you have lots of opportunities to learn from those people, or do you have that notion in mind that Mohanji being the guru, uh, I would learn many things only from him but not from the people around?
Um, that's a good question. I guess I feel like whoever that is coming to him, there's always opportunity to learn from anybody. So it's like even the type of questions that is being asked, I feel like we are all reflection of each other, whether we like it or not, So it's like we always learning and picking up from each other. So like if you observe, other people, you learn a lot about your own self. So, but yeah, I get to learn a lot from Mohanji, but also the people that comes and interact with him. So like how he's interacting with the other people, that's a learning opportunity, and how the people are interacting with him, that's also a learning opportunity.
Sure. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
George, you were gonna tell us you were about to share something.
I don't remember.
Okay.
It's gone. Unless you ask me something else. Yeah, I don't remember.
All right, no worries. Well, I have pretty much asked you most questions that I could think of. Unless somebody else has something more to ask. Maybe you can leave us with the last few parting words of wisdom from life in LA, or life from the Navy all the way to being with Mohanji and now living in LA. What a journey. I mean, truly. And it's one that continues.
What to share? I don't know, always be you, like your true you. Always, yeah, always be present, always be available for other people. I think that once you start to do that, you get more, you become more present, you gain more access to yourself. Something opens inside of you. Yeah, so always be available, always be true to your search. Don't compromise on your own self-integrity. So yeah, don't let go of your whatever target that you're trying to reach, that is in terms of spiritual aspiration. Yeah, because whatever that you came from is, if you begin to like stay true to who you are, you'll find that whatever you came from doesn't compare to what is coming out of you now. It's like it doesn't come close to that. There's something beautiful that's sitting inside of us that just waiting to flower. It's not like it's flowering, it's already here. It's just that we got to let go of a lot of things before it becomes much more apparent. And once you begin to gain access to that, it's like you will always want to cultivate that. So yeah.
I know, because you said this, it just triggered something in my mind. You've been with Mohanji for 7 years, and you said there was a version of you that you don't necessarily even recognize anymore. And maybe in hindsight, you could say that, as you are here at this phase, this moment in your time, how do you see when experiences come to you? Has that changed the way you look at how experiences in life come to you?
I guess it's just life is much more interesting. You get this sort of like awareness that, whatever that is happening in life, it's just like different expressions. It's like, and yeah, so whatever experiences that are coming, you want to meet it fully. It's like that's what Mohanji also said. Just go through the experience. Just be available for that. Just go through it completely, so that you don't have any backlog of wanting to go back or anything. You just want to meet life fully. Meet life presently. So.
And how did that happen for you, George? Is it just something slowly over time? Because I know all of us tend to lose patience with our own selves, right? Like we discussed this before, how we have this version of what we should be and where our growth should look like. And you've had those phases too, but as you walk this path, now in hindsight, even if it's these 7 years, how did that change happen? Is it just a slow, consistent change that amounts to something? Like how did that happen for you, or is happening for you?
Yeah, it's not like, maybe some people, it's like you wake up the next morning and you have a golden body. I don't know. For me, it doesn't happen like that. It's very gradual. Like I said, you almost don't notice like how you're changing. A lot of the time, it's other people that might notice it. You know, you yourself don't know it. So it's just cultivating patience. You know, Margie also say that you just got to be patient. You got to let go of all your ideas of what the change should look like. And it took you, like for me, when I came to Mohanji, I was already like 32, 31. So it took me 32 years, you know, to like continuously practice, because whatever we're doing in life, we either practicing the sort of identity that we are or what we're trying to become. So it took me 32 years to form this identity of myself. It's not going to just vanish overnight. You know, it might take me another 32 years before I can completely, you know, rid myself of all of these societal influences and everything that I have picked up before. So it takes a long time. It might, yeah, it can happen overnight. It just depends on the person. But for me, it didn't happen. It doesn't happen overnight for me. And so having this sense of, you know, knowing that, you know, it took me 30 plus years to be the person that I was before meeting Mohanji. It will take time, you know, and you know, just enjoy the experience, just go through it, and yeah, everything will be okay.
And George, what would you say? What was that one thing for you? Or is it not one thing that slowly has brought about this transformation for you?
Well, repeat that.
So is it one thing that you can pin and say, this is, if I look back now, because I did this one thing consistently, my transformation is happening, or it's going on, or has happened?
Just maintaining my connection with Mohanji. I feel like I I I wouldn't be able to speak to you the way that I'm speaking to you in this manner if I had never met Mohanji. So it's like everything is because of my, you know, my meeting Mohanji and spending time with him. So it's like maintaining that connection. I feel like as long as I can have some sort of connection with him, then you know I will continue to grow, you know. So yeah.
I think that's like the perfect ending. Yeah. It summarizes the whole, I think, our conversation today. Your connection with him has led you down this beautiful path. And that's what you have consistently been, or you've held on to, no matter what, all the ups and downs and no golden bodies. But I think that's what we all need to hear, you know. I think that's the real practical side to life. And I think that's what's inspiring.
Yeah, just continue to nurture your connection in whichever form that you know it feels comfortable for you, and yeah, that will take you where you have to go.
Awesome. Well, I had fun chatting with you. And I hope we can see each other soon. I hope you'll come to the Mohanji Center of Benevolence really soon, maybe in April, hopefully.
Yeah, I'll just wait till the snow melts, then I'll come.
It'll be gone by tomorrow. Don't worry, George. So anytime starting tomorrow, you're welcome.
Okay, I really enjoyed this conversation with you and everybody here. It's like it was very fun for me to be here and share.
Yeah, I really actually appreciate this, George, because I really feel you have a lot of insight, and for you to just give that experience that you've had over the years in your own journey is really helpful. And for anybody who, you know, we can check out the rest of this conversation on YouTube also again. So thank you, George. And if nobody has any questions, we'll let George go because he has a flight to catch to come to Virginia.
I see what you did there. Now you're very
All right. Really, George, thank you so much. This was really wonderful. And thank you, everybody, for being here and listening and adding your presence here.
Thank you, Rena. Thank you, George.
Thank you for having me. Lots of love to everybody.
Thank you, George. That was
Thank you so
amazing.
much.
Thank you.
George.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, George. Thank you, Rona.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Very helpful, George. Thank you.